Kindness isn't a word you hear every day in the trades, but for our guest today, it's a business philosophy. Welcome to Tradies Who Lead, the podcast about everyday leadership for everyday legends. I'm Ashley Baltecki, a diesel mechanic by trade and your host. In this podcast, we hear from trade leaders from all industries and job titles about how they show up as everyday leaders so that we can learn from them and level up our leadership skills on site. In today's episode, we cover tips for starting a trade business, how we can empower others as leaders, and the impact of leading with heart. Today's guest is someone who's wiring more than just buildings. He's wiring up future leaders, stronger communities, and purpose-driven teams. Jonno McCartney is a director of Prolink Trade Group and a bloke who wears a few hats. Tradie, business owner, community coach, and proud dad of 3 boys. Born in Australia and raised in Vanuatu, Jonno brings a unique mix of grit, heart, and belief to everything he does. Whether he's leading a team across electrical, data, and aircon jobs, coaching junior basketball, or fronting a local cover band, one thing stays the same. He's all about helping others grow. Welcome to the podcast, Jonno.
Ash, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, really good. I'll kick us off with the first question I ask everyone. What is leadership to you?
And you can see it everywhere in Australia at the moment. There is lack of leadership. There is a lot of fear driving community and culture, which is quite disappointing. But then when you do step into leadership, some of the main things that we do, the words that we use is honourable. We use integrity, high-level values, setting good boundaries. All these key words, they can be just words if you don't understand what they mean in your own lens. But yeah, leadership, I've led everywhere. My dad's always empowered me to be the man out in front. And if you want things a certain way, then you need to empower those behind you to step up and come with you on the journey. So I'll give you a quick story around how I've made leadership work before. So it's understanding the content of what you're doing, right? So with leadership, you can go, I've got a goal that you're setting a goal for a team, culture, whatever it is. This is what we're going to go and hit. So you have to have a basic understanding of, with all the different roles in the business, or whether it's in a community group or whatever it is, especially on committees, how can people be successful in that space? So by actually understanding and picking a couple of wins for people early on when you put them into those sorts of roles, we found that that's been our biggest success so far. So, because what happens is you keep checking in week after week, and it's really, really cool. So what happens is you get these guys, say for instance, I need you to do this role and I need it this way, and they'll put their own spin on it. But then every week you keep coming back and reaffirming what it is, what they're doing really, really well. And one of the big tricks that I've found along the way in 30 years of leadership is sending people messages, or now that the video's around, I do video, and I'll go in and I'll identify, and this comes back to awareness and being present with everybody as well. So when you get the opportunity to see something that someone's doing that they're probably not being acknowledged for, you send them a 60 or a 90-second self-video, and then what happens is all of a sudden they feel recognised. They've reaffirmed that the behaviour is really, really good, and then bang, all of a sudden they're in their own power. They've got this freedom. Then all of a sudden you just need to check in probably once a month with those guys, because they're on message. They're in the team. That's, to me, leadership. I've got, as I said, all sorts of philosophies around it, but it basically all comes down to empowering people off the back of, as people, we're always checking, like how many times have you checked in with your parents to say, am I on the right track? Right? We're always checking. So your parents are never the ones you want to check in on, because they're the ones that haven't lived your life, but you're always checking. But at least if you've got the people that are in your charge, the world's your oyster. You can create any great team, great culture, great community, just off the back of making sure that someone's feeling supported, they're being acknowledged, and they're being reaffirmed for the behaviour and what they're creating. Yeah, that was
You've really opened with a bang. Wow. So for you, that leadership is really around knowing your values, having value alignment, having a really clear vision around what success is. And then as a leader, it's your role to be aware of the impacts you can have on others. If you have that clear vision for success and then you're able to empower people to reach that success by those leadership skills of checking in, recognition, and doing this from a place of alignment with your values, you're well and truly going to be on a great starting track as a leader, regardless of whether, I guess, you are the person with the most authority or just a tradesperson mentoring an apprentice.
100% correct. So, and one of the biggest things that I could, I know this is early on, I probably should finish with this, but I will say this again later on. As a leader, you don't ever want to be known as someone, I'm frightened or I'm scared of this person. So one of the biggest things that I've always had feedback on is that they're not frightened of me, but they're frightened of disappointing me. As a leader, that's when you know that you've got buy-in from your team and the culture, because because you're leading from the front. One of the best things my old man ever told me, monkey see, monkey do. If you're going to lead from the front, you have to do the hard work yourself out in front. It's no different. If you want your team to create courage, then you have to go and put yourself into really vulnerable, scary situations where you're showing, holy shit, this is really hard, but I've got courage here, and they will come with you. Like, it's empowering. Empowered women in trades, obviously, we both met through EWIT, but that to me just screams leadership, because all you're trying to do is show them the way. But whatever you do, don't do it for them.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
So care not carry is one of our phrases in our business, in our community. So care not carry stands for, I will give you my whole world and I'll give you all my attention, but until you are, and the other phrase that we've got in our business is embrace the suck. So because you have to suck at something to start off with for you to actually leapfrog into knowledge, and then eventually you'll learn empathy. So empathy is one of the strongest traits of leadership, which I'm very, very passionate about. Ted Lasso is my favorite show on the planet. I reckon I've watched it a dozen times over and over again. And throughout that whole series, it's all about empathy and compassion. So by learning the mistakes and going through the life, then all of a sudden you create a feeling of, I can step into that person's shoes and know how they're feeling. Then they will, you just need to keep nurturing them along. And then the next thing they go, bang. And I know you're the same. When you see the diamond sparkle and the stars in their eyes, when the penny drops in, that's why we are who we are, because we love to see people. So one of my biggest things with my accountant and my consultants is they hate the fact that I'm not driven by profit. It doesn't matter what I do in this life, I'm not driven by it. So we find different ways how I can be in community and how I can teach, and then the profit comes in underneath, because it's a different layer. But I'm sure one day, I don't think this lifetime it'll ever change. Maybe next lifetime.
That's really great insight, actually, because I feel like often what I've seen, even when I was an apprentice, is when you're trying to teach someone, you kind of take over and you actually take that learning journey away from someone, that it's not our role to make their life easier necessarily. It's our job to empower them, as that's obviously a really important word for you that really captures how you want to show up for people, that by empowering them, it's giving them the tools and the ability and the confidence to have courage and face those hard things so they can learn from them, instead of actually almost handicapping them by taking those learning opportunities away.
Correct. Yeah. And everybody wants to have a go. But there's this belief in our heads that if I fuck up, I will be seen as bad, which is not necessarily the case. But throughout school, and schools are my biggest thing. If you fail this test, you get told that you're bad. But instead of using the word fail, it's like, you're not there yet, but you'll get there. Because and that's the thing with schools and all that sort of stuff. Like, my brother and myself are both dyslexic. So we struggled through school. I've found a way personally to learn. This is why I like being a tradie, because by having my tradie next to me and showing me, and like even now, like when I'm learning systems, I physically have to have a person sitting next to me to actually show me, and then I can see, oh, yep, cool, yep, and then it drops in. But if you give me a PowerPoint slideshow or a video that I've got to watch where I've got to reproduce what I just listened to and then put it into a questionnaire, I'm asleep in 2 minutes. It just doesn't sink in. It doesn't sink in. So, yeah. But again, this is why I love working in the schools with the EWIT program and independent of my own stuff, is that empowering young people to realise that just because the education system has set you a certain path doesn't necessarily mean that has to be your reality. And I love listening to the kids afterwards when I've gone and done a presentation for the girls at EWIT, or I've done my own thing, and the kids come up to me and they're like, oh my God, I've got a learning disability too. And I'm like, yeah, don't make it your reality though. You've got to find a way to create momentum and move forward. And that's what I love most about what we're doing in this space, obviously, because we're empowering young people. If not, look, there's people that are, 40, 50 year old that are still looking to me going, oh my God, I wish I'd done this younger. And I'm like, doesn't matter, just start now. Still got plenty of life left. 30 years time, they'll be able to take your brain out and put it into a new body. Don't worry about it.
You obviously mentioned your dad. So he's obviously had a big role on your leadership journey, but where did your leadership journey actually begin?
I'm a different cat. So I grew up in Vanuatu. So I was one that really didn't see the Melbourne lifestyle or anything like that. So when we grew up, I'd never worn a pair of shoes. I only saw TV when Nan and Pop or Grandma would send us videos, like VHS videos overseas, and that was the only TV we'd watch. When CDs came in, it was massive because all we had was tapes and one radio station, Radio Vila over in Vanuatu. But I'd never seen AFL footy, VFL footy, cricket, basketball, all these things was just not in my realm or in my vision. So when we moved back here, I was really not a good fit for Australia with the young kids coming through primary school and high school. I saw the world differently. And, I had all the challenges that you want. I went through high school, I was bullied, got into the drug culture, got into the drinking culture. And because all we're trying to do, and I hope some of the listeners can understand that all we're trying to do is find our place. And especially, and this is why I really don't like high school's tough, and high school's really tough. Coming into your apprenticeship, it's really tough because most of the things that we've learned, we're trying to find our place in the ladder of popularity, but also just in community. And sometimes, I was the last thing I wanted to do was go and, do drugs or anything like that. But those people accepted me and they liked me for who I was, and that's where I went. So, and it took me a little bit of time to realize that, this is probably not what I want to be doing, because my mum and dad were great human beings. And, this is the same thing. You can't learn empathy without actually trying different stuff. So, and I realized my values aligned. I'm just like, no, I don't want to go down that path. I'm going to go over here. And in the end, I found self-worth, which is a big part of society at the moment, is that there's not a lot of a self-worth going around. We're on social media, we're expecting people to pump our own tires up. But as I say to the guys, that I'm like, you are more than enough, if not you're too much, because everybody has their place. You're a beautiful human inside and out, and you don't need to do anything for anyone other than to march to the beat of your own drum. Just do it with kindness, do it with compassion, and just don't hurt anyone. It's simple. So in the end, I ended up being school captain in the end, and I really liked it. I think electrical was my 13th job. I was a baker in there at one stage. I was running printing presses, had all sorts of stuff that I was doing. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So go and have a crack. And this is what I say to young people today. It's just like, if you don't like what you're doing, don't stick with it. Go try something else, because life is a really long journey. You don't want to be doing it for the sake of doing it. You want to do something that you actually love. And electrical, after 2 days of doing the pre-apprenticeship, I was in love with it. It just, everything just lit me up, and the brain just exploded. So again, but then it led to the next part of it, and it's just I got given a role up in Queensland when we're in the mines. So it's great that both of us have been in the Bowen Basin, but my brain just went, holy shit. All of a sudden I got given this team, and then I got to play with it. And it's like, okay, we're going to go away from the mining culture. I'll be the one that deals with the superintendents and the project managers. but we're going to create a team. We're going to do our own stuff. We ended up doing fibre and data because there was only one guy in Serena who was doing fibre. So we're like, bugger it, let's give it a go. And so we gave it a go, and it was the best fun. Like, we literally marched to the beat of our own drum. And so then that got to the point where I was really homesick, and then I came back and said, now that I've run my own team, I'm going to start my own business. And that's when I started my own business. And yeah, we've been on that journey for a while now, so it's been great.
Maybe some other tradies out there who are thinking about starting their own business, what would be your top 3 tips, I guess, get started and to lay a strong foundation to build on?
Don't. No. In the first year, or in the first 2 years, you're going to absolutely smash your own network, right? So all the work you're going to get is going to come from your own network, right? So back in the day, there used to be a thing called a Tupperware party where people used to go and sell Tupperware. And one of the keys to Tupperware parties was if you didn't sign up someone from that party to get the next party, after 6 or 7 of these parties from your own network, it would eventually fall away, and then your house is just full of Tupperware. So, which is what happened in my household. The key to it is networking. Now, that's the first one. I know you've done a little bit of background check on me, we were saying before. So BNI is one of the things that I got introduced to. But everywhere I go now, I have communities, whether it's my breathwork community, whether it's my gym community. I've got several sporting clubs that I'm a part of, BNI networks. I'm known all throughout Melbourne, probably a bit further out. And it's all because of networking that our business has been able to grow and expand. So if you're going to be starting a business, number one, network like hell. Be open. And remember that you are more than enough, right? More than enough. Number 2, put your tax away, put your super away, do all the right things, stay disciplined to that with your GST. And number 3, I would probably say, I'm just going to go with an easy one. It's really easy to build a trade business on showing up on time, cleaning up after yourself, and saying thank you. 3 things, that's it. Like, you don't actually need to do anything other than that. The social media is great, whatever. Like, there's all sorts of things out there that you can be doing. But if I had a business that I was starting again today, I don't think I'd do it any differently. The fundamentals of a really good trade business is A, showing up on time, B, cleaning up after yourself, and C, gratitude. Make sure you show thanks for that person that's actually done the work for you. And make sure you leave a business card or something so that they can refer you to their friends, because if you just get the job done and you don't ask for the Google review and you don't ask for a referral later on, you're not going to get it. And then that's a hit that you're just missing. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
When I was doing that research into you and trying to get to know more about you before we had our chat, I did come across your business philosophy, which I absolutely love. And your business philosophy is about bringing kindness and a human touch to the trades. Can you explain where that has come from as a business philosophy and obviously a personal passion as well?
Yeah, so I'm not overly religious, but I truly believe in the way that churches have brought community together, right? And being that they're basically in the service of others. And that's the phrase that I love the most. When we're in the service of others, it makes the whole world go around, and it makes for a beautiful day. Because one of my things that we do with our guys, we do a fair bit of work in aged care. Now, I've taught my guys on how to make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and I've given them a set of questions on how to actually sit with that person and ask how they're going. Because we all need to be seen, felt and heard, right? And some of the stuff that you see from the occupational therapists, the feedback that we get, they're just like, what the hell did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, they are the happiest they've ever been. And it's because they were actually, seen and heard. Like, it's beautiful. And not only does it give you as an employee or somebody that's on our team a sense of purpose and a sense of, oh my God, this is beautiful that what we've just done. Just showed a little bit of kindness, just had a cup of tea with someone. Like, that's out the window. No one's doing it anymore. That's the traditional service that we were built on because we had time. Now, time, if we actually got rid of our phones, we'd have hell of a lot more time. But we can, create huge change just through that. So we do a lot of work in charities as well. That's So me personally, I'm involved with a charity called the Rising Sun Charitable Trust. So before COVID, I was doing a lot of work with mental health. I shifted to guys so I still do work with mental health, but now I've shifted to specifically PTSD. So people that suffer with PTSD do not have a choice at all. They had suffered something. And so I've just fallen into one with a whole bunch of mates, which is returned servicemen and women suffering with PTSD. And off the back of that, I learned how to sing during COVID, and just because I wanted something to do. And now we've got a six-piece cover band that we go around. We charge $1,000 a gig. All that money just goes straight to charity, and we get a sense of community, self-worth, that we're actually giving back. It just ticks all the boxes. So again, in the service of others, but I'm not missing out on myself at the same time. So all of us, I think 37 plus, I think between the six of us, we've got 15 kids or something like that. So life can be very busy. But mate, this is one of the most important things, is that you need to find something for yourself. And especially when you hit your late 30s, 40s, 50s, you get so caught up in the doing. I'm not joking. My parents, God bless them, and all the parents out there that have the time to go and drive their kids everywhere for their sport, for all their activities and all that sort of stuff, you really do forget about yourself. And it's super important that you find something, because eventually they're going to grow up and move on. And then all of a sudden you're left with this empty house, and it's like, what am I supposed to do now? So instead of waiting for that moment, be proactive and find what makes you happy now, and then the world's your oyster. And it just makes, doing hard shit, we talk about that all the time. A lot of people tend not to want to drop into doing hard stuff, but bugger me, like the other side of a sweat, I can guarantee you're going to feel amazing. So I'll give you a quick story around putting yourself through hard stuff. So I did an SAS retreat, a 3.5-day SAS retreat a couple of years ago. It was for a bunch of CEOs. There was 40 of us. It was just south of Coffs Harbour. And I did it fully food fasted, because it was nuts. Like I'm literally in the mindset of, I'm going to smash myself over the next 3.5 days. Whatever comes at me, I'm not going to eat. I'm just going to drink water, and I'll just full survival mode, just get through it. And it was really interesting, because the last challenge that we had, I was completely out of my legs. I had felt like I had nothing to give, and I walked out onto the beach with the rest of the guys, and then they laid us on our stomachs, and we had to crawl 2 kilometers on the beach on our stomachs. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that had happened, but it was the mind, and this is what I can't reiterate more. Whatever this thing's telling you, just tell it to shut the F up and just get on with it. So, but what happened is that I got about 100 meters up the beach, and I was it's like I was just tired, and my brain kept telling me I can't go any further. So what happened was that I fell into my heart, and so I started listening to everything. I felt the cold sand. I could hear the waves rolling in, the wind. I looked up, and it was one of the most beautiful. There's no lights, so all the stars were out, moon was shining. And then I started thinking about the people that I love and care for. And then the next thing, I just started, and it was just next. And basically, if you lifted your ass off the ground, the commandos would come and drag you into the ocean and then make you go back 20 meters and start again. But the next thing, I was at the other end of the beach, and I stood up, and it was just, I had the biggest smile on my face. It was so beautiful that, holy fuck, didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, none of it mattered. Like, we're capable of so much more as human beings, capable of so much more.
That's so powerful. And I mean, everything that you've shared already, I'm just seeing how, yes, we might be technical tradespeople, and that's our role, and that's the environment that we have been raised in as workers, and that's the environment that we have our mates and our mentors and our friends in. But fundamentally, who we are as people is what leaves an impact on others. And that's something that we all have the ability to choose how we want to impact others, and choose how we want to even show up for ourselves. And that has a ripple effect that sometimes you can't quantify, whether it's putting a smile on someone's face, getting a positive review because you said thank you. So trying to distill all this wisdom that you've already shared with us
Sorry.
The final question I ask all our guests, what advice do you have for anyone at any stage of their career, and advice you have for tradespeople about how they can show up as an everyday leader?
Just do it from the heart. Everything just comes back to it. My mum was always branded someone that wore her heart on her sleeve, and a lot of people said that was a bad thing. Just show up, full heart, buy in. It doesn't matter what you do. One of the biggest things that we talk about in our business is, so we aren't our title is electrician, but it's not our identity. And this is one of the big things in Australia, is that when I go to the pub with you, Ash, for example, and we just sat down and we just sit next to each other in the bar, g'day, how you going? We'll talk about the weather. And then the first question you'll ask me is, what do you do? Right? And I'll say, I'm a sparky. And then all of a sudden you've got this vision in your head. Oh, right, it's electrician, right. Then all of a sudden you've got all these characteristics that get built up. All of that is irrelevant, right? When you are super, super clear, right, on what your goals are up here, this is what you're aiming for, right? This job that you've got at this point in time, when you do it with a high level of accountability, high level of self-worth, high values, and you set really good boundaries around your time and what you will and won't do, it will pay for the goals up here. So if you're not getting what you want up here, it's because you're not aligned down here, right? High level of accountability brings more money. Doesn't matter what job we're doing at all. I promise you. But you have to be the one that shows up. You have to lead. If you set the culture, right, and help set the culture with whoever's leading in the business at the moment, or if you're the leader, set the intention, set the culture, and make sure people understand that you're not here in this ego. I'm doing electrical work, doing plumbing work. No. That's my goal here. That's what I'm paying for. And if I do this with a high level of accountability, I will be rewarded after time. You can't expect to just jump into a job and I'm not making an impact. Of course you're bloody not. You're an apprentice. Just learn. But if you're showing up with a smile on your face and you are helpful, you're doing what you need to do, the world's your oyster. It really is. But just remember that it's all about the goals, what we want from this life, not about what we're doing.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for everything you've shared on the podcast today, Jonno. I know that I myself have got a lot to digest and absorb from that. And thank you so much for how you show up and lead by example as well, by showing up with kindness, showing up with that human touch. We barely talked about the technical role of being a tradie, because at the end of the day, it's a job and we're people behind that. And our role as a person is more important than our role as a tradie. So thank you for everything you've shared on the show today. If you enjoyed today's chat, please like this episode, subscribe to Tradies Who Lead, and follow us on socials for more content from your favorite guests. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I'll see you at the next one in 2 weeks.